Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Real People, Real Talk. Today I want to talk about an important matter. I'm 27 years old, and a bunch of people my age or younger don't care for movies that were made before the year 2000 because they're old. I smell shit because that is a load of horse shit. That's right. Those are some of the best movies out there. Most of my top 10 movies are pre-2000s. There might only be like two on there that came out after the year 2000. And so today I want to talk about some movies that are before that still look really good today, or they're just a lot of fun. I mean, sure, they're going to look older, but who cares? They're great movies. They're classics. And today I'm going to teach you about some of them. So why don't you come with me and let's get this video started. No. But you see, you have me at a loss. You know my name, but who are you? Just another American who's seen too many movies? An orphan of a bankrupt culture who believes he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon? Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis as John McClane, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, and this is just one of the most quintessential action films you can watch. It was made in 1988, and it's about a group of terrorists who have a bunch of hostages in a building in LA, and John McClane is the only person who can save the hostages and prevent the terrorists from going through with their attacks. And it's just, I mean, come on. It's old, good Bruce Willis, before he became what he is today. This is the Bruce Willis I know. And Alan Rickman, rest in peace, was so damn good in this film. Die Hard, though, the first on the list. But yeah, Die Hard, if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure a lot of you have, but for those who haven't, I highly recommend checking this out. This is one of the best action films ever made. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's just a damn fun time. I mean, what's it gonna hurt not watching it? Nothing. If anything, your heart will feel a little more whole like mine does with it. Thank you, John McClane. 32 years later and you're still kicking it. And don't worry about the sequels. Don't think because you watch this you have to watch them. Except for the third one's pretty damn good. Die Hard with a Vengeance. I do recommend that one. But definitely check out Die Hard. A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with a side of fava beans and a nice Chianti. Silence of the Lambs, starring Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster, and Ted Levine, and this is probably could be the scariest film I have ever seen. But this movie is about FBI agent Clarice Starling, who is on the investigation of a massive serial killer known as Buffalo Bill, and in order to find his whereabouts, she must get the help of renowned psychiatrist Hannibal Lecter, who is imprisoned for murder and cannibalism. But in order to find the man they're looking for, she must go to someone that thinks just like him. And so this movie is just all back and forth. This movie is beautifully written, beautifully directed, amazing acting, and it is the most intense movie I think I've ever seen, at least in the top 5. This movie has you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. I remember I wasn't allowed to watch this movie when I was a kid, so I wound up watching it. I was probably maybe 13, and it scared the shit out of me, because this could happen. This is literally about a man who kidnaps larger women, starves them, and skins them so he can wear their skin. Oh shit. That is terrifying to think about. And that's more plausible than somebody haunting your dreams or, demons and all that. This is real life horror right here. I believe in ghost stuff, but this gets me every time I watch it. And this still holds up today. And it was made in 91. So yeah, this movie is 29 years old, and damn does it look good. Silence of the Lambs. If you like horror films or thrillers, this should be at the top of your list right here. I can't see a goddamn thing. Quit griping. I like griping. Alien from 1979, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Sigourney Weaver and Tom Skerritt. And this, I can't talk enough about Alien. Alien is probably, to me, the perfect sci-fi horror thriller. It's the perfect out of all three of those genres. This movie, to me, is flawless. The fact that for majority of the movie you don't see the xenomorph is amazing. It keeps you in suspense. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know where it's at. It just kind of lurks in the shadows. And I love movies that just build suspense that way. They don't just throw everything in your face right away. No. They leave the viewers wondering for a while. And when the reveal happens, oh, it's one of the greatest moments in film history. But yeah, basically Alien is about a group of space explorers who discover a distress call on a barren planet. So they go there and discover another life form. Only this life form needs a host to multiply. So basically, you got a little baby egg in you, and then that egg sprouts a little baby xenomorph and just... And yeah, that's it. And they spit acid blood. How cool is that? But yeah, Alien looks amazing still for being, God, 41 years old? Yeah, 41 years old. Looks at... Yes, I was right. I always second guess myself because I'm bad at math. But yeah, 41 years old, still looks amazing. It's terrifying, it's fun, it's action-packed, and it looks beautiful. Get a group of friends and watch Alien. Watch Alien and Aliens. You won't regret it. Donna, 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 Donna. Ah! It's Jaws. Starring Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. This movie was directed by Steven Spielberg back in 1975. And this is one of Steven Spielberg's best films. First of all, one thing I want to talk about this right away. But John Williams composed the score to this movie. And the music is like half of the film. Like, if you watch this without the music, it's not the same movie. The music in this movie is just beautiful. It's bellowing. It's peaceful at sometimes. And it makes the movie just 50 times better. But Jaws, I saw this movie when I was a kid. And it was one of my favorites back then, and it has not changed. This movie, though, it's got a simple premise. There's a shark that's terrorizing the beaches of Amity Island, and it's up to the sheriff and his gang to take it down before it takes all of them down. And this movie, like I said, was directed and made in 1975, and this movie's PG. You watch children and women and men get eaten alive, just blood just go, the shark's just like, and they're just like, and then you just see that tail fin going like, such a fun time. I watch this every 4th of July. This is my tribute to America right here. We got the red, white, and blue, boy. And this, I could talk about Jaws for hours. So I'm not going to. I'm going to cut it short, but I'm just going to tell you that if you want a fun summer feel movie where people get eaten by sharks, Jaws is the movie to go. Or if you just want to see people get eaten by sharks like me, Jaws is the way to go. This next film deserves all the recognition it can get. It is starring Liam Neeson and directed by Steven Spielberg once again, and it is Schindler's List. This movie came out in 1993 and is the story of Oskar Schindler, a man who wound up being able to save 1,100 Jews during the Holocaust, and the story of his time during that very dark chapter in our history. And this movie is phenomenal. Like, I've said that about a lot of movies, but this movie genuinely is just a masterpiece. I had to watch this back in 10th grade in American history class, and I fell in love with it. That was the first time I'd seen it, and I instantly went out after we finished it, and I picked myself up a copy because this movie just definitely deserves to be seen. Now, like I said, this movie came out in 1993, but the whole film is in black and white, except for the little girl's red coat. And that just, I don't even know how to describe it. It gives that movie so much more of a feeling. It gives it that gloominess to it. It makes you feel a lot more, I want to say, depressed watching it, because this movie is really upsetting, honestly. Like, they do not hold back in this film at all. This film is brutal. It is a very difficult watch. It is a long movie, but it is one of the greatest films, and I think personally, it's not my favorite, but I think this is Spielberg's best film he's ever made, is Schindler's List. But if you haven't seen Schindler's List, even if you're not into war films, it's not even a war film, honestly. It is what happened in those concentration camps. And it is Liam Neeson's best film, in my opinion. It's got Ralph Fiennes in it, who plays such a sack, such a piece of shit. I can't even think of it else. He is such an asshole in this movie, but he does it so well. And this movie it's one that everybody should definitely see, because this movie just makes you more aware of what really happened back then. And if any of these movies today you take away that you maybe consider watching, definitely I would say out of all of them, make it this one. This movie deserves the recognition, and Steven Spielberg created such a masterpiece here. So Schindler's List, if you haven't seen it, please. It's on Netflix, I believe. Give it a watch on there. I am going to watch it after this review, probably in 4K, because I haven't watched it in 4K yet. But that is Schindler's List. Remember, Red, hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. And no good thing ever dies. Shawshank Redemption, starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. This is based off of a Stephen King novel and was turned into a film in 1994. And this movie, first of all, some parts were shot in a prison called Mansfield Reformatory, which is about 2 hours away from my house, and I've done 2 overnight ghost hunts there. Beautiful, haunting inside, terrifying, creepy. But this movie, critics and pretty much all sites claim this to be either the greatest film ever made or in the top 3 greatest films ever made. And those people are not wrong. I've seen this movie countless times, and I cannot find a flaw in it. This movie is the definition of a masterpiece. So Shawshank Redemption, I think the reason it's so good is this movie is about a man who is accused of murder, and he is to serve his sentence at Shawshank Prison, where he befriends a man named Red. And this movie, I think, still really holds up today because it's about this man's journey. This man had lost himself, and in serving time, he's trying to find himself, trying to free himself, and eventually become the person he always thought he could be, other than the person that people are now viewing him as, which was a monster. And to me, that's just a really good message that this movie carried. That's what I really like about this movie, is the message. And it's like I said in the quote earlier, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and good things never die. And that's the whole message of this movie, is hope. This man went from having a free life, a job, a home, to being put away with all these other criminals, murderers, rapists, whoever's in there with him. He's now with them. He's viewed as one of them. And he just hopes that he can one day be freed from that life and live the life he's always truly dreamt for himself. And that is a very powerful message. And coming from a man who's made movies like this, yeah, this is a huge turn of events for Stephen King. He has another movie like this that we're actually going to talk about next. It's a great one. But this movie, if you haven't seen any of them on this list, definitely check them out. But this movie, it still looks good. The acting's great. It's got Morgan Freeman. So definitely check out Shawshank Redemption. And please let me know what you think of all these if you wind up checking them out. Happens to all of us. Friends come in and out of our lives, like busboys at a restaurant. And honestly, I never had friends later in life like the ones I had when I was 12. Jeez. Does anybody? Stand By Me, starring Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and Kiefer Sutherland. And this movie is very simple. 4 friends are going to find a dead body that they were told washed up along the river somewhere. So 4 friends, dead body. That's all you need to know. And this is based off a Stephen King novel, a short story actually, called The Body. And Rob Reiner in 1986 adapted it into a film. And Stephen King still says that he hails this as the greatest film adaptation from any of his stories ever. And I get it. This movie gets me every time I watch it. So the reason that I think I love Stand By Me so much is because horror's always been my favorite genre. Trick or treat. But I love coming of age films the most. They are my all-time favorites. I will watch them. Whatever one comes out, I'm always willing to give it a watch. And this is the greatest example of a coming of age film. Because what I love about those movies is they're just movies about kids or teens being kids and teens. But then they capture how they're affected in their lives about where they grow up, who they grow up around, who their family is. It shows the effect that has on their lives and the impact it has on them. And this movie captures that beautifully. This is a sensational film. Another great thing about this movie is the direction that Rob Reiner took. Like, the directing in this is phenomenal. Some of the camera shots are just absolutely mesmerizing. And the writing in this is so good because it's just sounds like these kids are just having normal conversations that kids have. There's nothing big about the writing. There's nothing outstanding. It's literally just writing for kids to have conversations with other kids. And that's what's great, is they don't make them sound like adults. They sound like children. And that is what this movie has that's just really great. It just captures the essence of being that age. And it's captured beautifully in this film. Definitely check it out. I think it might be on Netflix, but I could be wrong. But Stand By Me has been one of my favorites since I was really young, and it will be one of my favorites for the rest of my life. I will watch this continuously the rest of my life. It is a great movie, and one of Stephen King's best pieces of work right here.
Hey, you guys! Ruth? Baby?
The Baby Ruth. The Goonies! I saved this one for last. I've been dying to talk about this one. The Goonies is one of my all-time favorite films. It's in my top 3, and it's such a fun movie directed by Steven Spielberg back in 1985. That's enough of that. Let's just talk The Goonies. So, like I said, The Goonies is one of my favorites, and it's a very simple premise. Group of kids are about to be broken up when one of the friends has to move away because his parents are selling the house, city wants to buy it, and they can't afford it. So they're going to be moving away, so the only hope is to find the lost treasure of One-Eyed Willie. Arr! But along the way to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure, they bump into the Fratellis. And the Fratellis don't like the children, no. The Fratellis want the children dead because the children have seen and know too much. So can the kids escape the grasps of the Fratellis while still finding the treasure of One-Eyed Willie? You'll have to watch to find out. And watch you shall, because this movie is an adventure for everyone. So The Goonies is a movie that I have watched for years. I remember seeing this movie on TV for the first time when I was maybe 6 or 7. And it was on ABC Family. And I fell in love with it. It had adventure, it had humor, it had pirates, it had gangsters. I guess you can consider the Fratellis gangsters. I do. But it had it all. And I loved it so much. And I watched it every time it aired. It aired once or twice a month on ABC Family, and I always sat down and watched it. Because to me, it just captured my attention every time. To this day, I will sit down and watch this movie many times a year. I'm actually going to wind up watching this one after I'm done with the video. Because I love what this movie captures. Now, does The Goonies hold up perfectly? No. You can tell it's an older film. But that doesn't take away from just how exciting this movie is. How this movie's always moving. There's something always happening. In fact, I've been holding this, wanting to show it to the camera. But I bought it a few years ago when it came out. But my Blu-ray came in this, and it's got the original TV guide with the Goonies. It's got the Goonies board game, yeah. We got the Goonies magazine here that came out. The Empire 20th anniversary. Some storyboard cards. And the Goonies board game. And I love this thing. In fact, it's getting re-released in 4K on June 9th, I believe. That and Jaws is. They're getting a 4K release, and you know I'm buying that shit first day. I love those movies, but this will always hold the biggest place in my heart when it comes to all the movies I've talked about today. The Goonies! So, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really hope that you guys will check out some of these movies if you haven't already seen all of them, and if you have seen them, let me know which ones you've seen, what you think about them, and just give older films a chance. They're some of the best movies out there, I promise you that. And I am going to be coming out with more videos here. I'm doing a review for Underwater, The Gentleman, and an older film, The Patriot, from the year 2000. So I have reviews for those coming out soon. I'm still working on some lists, but this I wanted to get out of the way. And I really hope you guys decide to check out some older films. If you don't think you're that into that, just give it a watch. If you don't like it, at least you gave it a shot. That's all that matters. But let me know down below what some of your favorite films pre-2000s are. And if you have any that you recommend that I review, let me know and I'll do it. But until next time, this has been Real People, Real Talk, and I'm signing off.